Hello and welcome to the third tutorial key point video. We started by looking at TMA01 and I stressed the luxury that you can't afford of introductions telling me what you're going to say, saying it, and then telling me what you said. That uses up the word limits, gets you no marks, and means you can put less in that will actually gain marks. And the cost of irrelevancies. You'll see that irrelevancy only comes in two bands, the bare pass and the fail. So make sure that your TMAs are directly related to the question. I stress the value of looking at those marking bands because they tell you the sorts of things that I have to look for in order to come to an assessment of what grade, what marking band you should have. Critical evaluation is the key. This is what you should be working towards. And only where there's a lot of critical evaluation will you get the highest marks. There is a guide available through the student homepage on critical thinking, and I'd encourage you to have a look at that. This particular TMA was a discussion of definitions, significance, and why conventions are observed. And if you haven't thought too much about that already, think about why it is that conventions are observed. The key subject for this tutorial was judicial review. Judicial review is very popular in exams. It can appear in two formats. The first is one about the constitutional implications of judicial review, separation of powers and all that sort of thing. So you can look at it from that point of view. But secondly, there is very, very frequently a problem question asking you to apply the key rules of judicial review. And I've sent you a flow diagram, so if you haven't downloaded it yet, do so, because it's key to answering the TMA question, and it will be key to answering any question in the exam. And it also makes it nice and straightforward. JR, judicial review, is a subject that you can confidently approach at for the exam, as long as you know the steps to go through. So it's in the flow diagram, but the key points to remember is the decision susceptible to judicial review. Who's made the decision? Because decisions are key to judicial review. That's what's being reviewed, but only decisions by certain bodies. Have a look at the rulings on that. Secondly, standing. Does the person who wishes to bring the action for judicial review have standing before the court? Thirdly, look at the time limits and how they apply, both the ones that apply generally and ones that may apply in a specific problem. Thirdly, next is the ouster clauses, attempts by Parliament to reduce the court's involvement. How the courts approach that, and the Annie's Minute case is key to look at, and I would encourage you to look at that case actually in its original report to see the thinking that went on. Then the grounds of review. This, of course, is a central issue. We talk about the Diplock criteria. There are some excellent diagrams in your manual. Have a look at those diagrams and also get used to, underneath the main headings, what might be described as the pigeonholes, specific phrases which lie behind different types of judicial review. So have a look at those diagrams, look at the boxes, and say judicial review is basically looking at the problem and finding the right box to put it in, or boxes, because you're usually more than one. Then we started looking at central principles of criminal law. So what is a crime? What role should criminal law play in regulating society? Are we criminalizing too much? Look at the classification of offences, the burden of proof, and you'll be looking in more detail than in W200 at actus reus and particularly mens rea. ETMA02, due in on the 6th of January, Have a look at Sebastian's claim. Look at the convention rights which might apply. So identify, explain, apply them. Ask yourself which rights are engaged. Deal with the issue of how the convention, which is about the relationship between the state and the individual, can actually be of use in disputes between individuals. Have a look at how the courts have defined or are trying to define private information. And central to the ECHR is this concept of balancing rights. My right against your rights, the state's rights against individual rights. Second one, again, is all about critically evaluating. As I said at the beginning of this TMA, critical evaluation is the key. Well, with that, I'll finish. Have a good Christmas and look forward to seeing you in the new year.